My husband secretly planned to divorce me and take everything, caught his scheme with proof, and his plan backfired horribly. I never thought I'd be writing this, but recent events have forced my hand. I, 39 female, have been married to my husband Smith, 37 male, for 12 years. We met in college, dated for 3 years, and got married when I was starting my business. He supported me through the tough early years, working as a marketing executive while I built my commercial cleaning company from scratch. During those early years, we maintained separate finances except for household expenses, a decision we both agreed on since he was earning significantly more than me at the time. The business took off about 5 years ago. We now service major corporate buildings across 3 states, with over 200 employees and annual revenue exceeding $15 million. Smith quit his job 3 years ago to focus on himself, which I supported. We could afford it. And I thought he deserved a break. At his insistence, we signed a post-nuptial agreement when he quit, clearly defining the business as separate property. His reasoning was that he didn't want the stress of business liability. I agreed, and we both had independent lawyers review the document. Everything seemed perfect until 2 months ago. I was using our shared home computer when I noticed something odd in the browser history. Smith had been researching how to divorce a business owner and hiding assets before divorce. There were multiple visits to divorce lawyers' websites in our area, particularly to one named Davidson, an associate known for handling high-net-worth divorces. I hadn't gone snooping through his accounts. That would have been illegal. The deeper discovery came through our shared iPad, which was still logged into his Apple account. Email previews from his new account kept popping up in the notifications. He'd forgotten to disable preview notifications when setting up the account. I took screenshots of what I could legally see, knowing I'd need evidence that I discovered this information legitimately. Over the next week, I started paying attention. Smith was constantly on his phone, turning the screen away when I entered the room. He began having frequent lunch meetings with a new friend, Avery, who had recently gone through a nasty divorce herself. I overheard snippets of conversations. She has no idea, and the business valuation is key. I reached out to my financial advisor, Blair, for a quarterly review meeting. Before I could bring up my concerns, he mentioned something interesting. "Jane, we've seen a surge in cases where spouses transfer assets before filing for divorce. 3 of my clients got blindsided last year. Lost millions because they didn't see it coming." That conversation sent chills down my spine. I opened up about my suspicions, showing him screenshots of the browser history. Blair's face grew serious. "Jane, this isn't paranoia. These searches are methodical. He's planning something." I spent the next few days documenting everything I could legally access. The story was unfolding through Venmo payments from our joint account to Avery with suspicious notes like consulting and planning sessions. Each piece of evidence was carefully dated and logged, with notes on how I discovered it to ensure everything was obtained legally. The worst part, he acted completely normal around me. We still had dinner together, watched our favorite shows, and he even planned a weekend getaway for next month. But now I saw the facade, the slight tension when I mentioned business finances, the way he steered conversations away from our future plans. Avery, his new friend, had become a regular fixture in our lives, always meeting Smith for coffee or shopping. I pulled our credit card statements. They weren't shopping. They were meeting at a small cafe next to Davidson and Associates' office. Everything was hiding in plain sight. The next morning, I called Blair for an emergency meeting. "I need options," I told him. "Legal ones. I won't let him destroy what I've built." Blair connected me with Casey Wilson, a business restructuring attorney who'd helped other clients protect their assets legally. The key word was legally. I wasn't interested in hiding anything, just protecting what I'd built through legitimate means. The post-nuptial agreement we'd signed 3 years ago gave us a strong foundation, but Casey advised additional steps to ensure business continuity. Any moves after divorce papers are filed will look suspicious, but proactive business restructuring for tax and liability purposes, that's just good business sense. However, we need to document everything meticulously. Courts scrutinize any changes made shortly before a divorce filing. While reviewing our finances, we discovered something interesting. Smith had opened a secret account at Wells Fargo 3 months ago. He'd been transferring £5,000 monthly from our joint account. Money I'd assumed was going to his personal shopping and hobbies. The balance was now over £20,000. The transfers themselves would be legal since it came from a joint account, but the pattern would establish his premeditation. Casey helped me implement a comprehensive restructuring plan. We created a holding company for my business's real estate assets and established a proper corporate structure that would protect the company's operational integrity. Everything was documented with clear business justification. The timing worked perfectly. We've been expanding into a new state, providing legitimate business reasons for the restructuring. Remember, Casey warned, we're not hiding assets, we're protecting the business and its employees through proper corporate governance. Every change needs a clear business purpose that would make sense even if you weren't married. Most importantly, everything must be declared and transparent. The changes took 3 weeks to implement. During this time, Smith's behavior shifted subtly. He started recording our conversations on his phone. I caught him hitting the record button when I walked into the room. Knowing the recordings might be used later, I made sure to remain professional and calm in all our interactions, documenting each instance of recording I noticed. Then came the smoking gun. I was detailing Smith's car, something I did monthly as a gesture of care, when I found a draft of divorce papers tucked under the spare tire. They weren't filed yet, but they were comprehensive. The discovery made my blood boil, but I forced myself to take photos with timestamps and return everything exactly as I found it. I also noted the location and time of discovery in my growing documentation file. That night, Smith picked his biggest fight yet. He was upset about me working late, even though I was home by 6:30. He kept pushing, getting increasingly aggressive, his phone prominently placed on the table recording everything. "You love that business more than me," he shouted. "I gave up my career for you." I remained calm, thinking about the divorce papers in his car and the postnuptial agreement he'd insisted on. "Smith, you chose to quit your job. I supported your decision. I've always supported you. You never have time for me anymore. You're probably cheating with that new office manager." The accusation about Lisa, my office manager, was ridiculous. She was happily married and expecting her second child. The false accusation was clearly meant for the recording. Another piece of evidence Smith was manufacturing. I realized his entire strategy: create a narrative of neglect and possible infidelity to challenge the postnuptial agreement. "I think we both know what's really going on here," I said quietly, "and we both know you're recording this conversation." His face went pale. He grabbed his phone and stormed out, texting furiously, probably to Avery or his lawyer. I later found several additional Venmo payments from our joint account to Avery that same evening with cryptic notes like emergency consult. The next day, I had my IT team quietly back up all our shared digital accounts and devices, everything I had legal access to as an account owner. Given the mounting evidence of his preparations, Casey advised documenting everything to show the court this wasn't a sudden business restructuring but a response to clear warning signs. 2 weeks later, it happened. I was at the office when my assistant told me someone was here to serve me papers. The filing was aggressive, demanding 50% of all business assets despite the postnuptial agreement, claiming it should be invalidated due to changed circumstances and emotional coercion. He was also demanding alimony, claiming I had systematically undermined his career prospects. I called Casey immediately. "It's time," I said. He already had our response prepared, including a full timeline of Smith's preparations and our legitimate business responses. Smith's lawyer, Harper Davidson, requested an emergency hearing, claiming I might dissipate assets. The judge granted it for the following week. The rush to court actually worked in our favor. It gave Smith's team less time to construct their narrative. The hearing was a masterclass in overconfidence meeting preparation. Davidson presented their case first, painting me as a controlling wife who had forced Smith to abandon his career. She demanded an immediate freeze on all business assets and temporary support of £25,000 monthly. Their entire strategy hinged on portraying the postnuptial agreement as coercive, and the recent business restructuring as suspicious. Then Casey stood up, calmly, methodically, and presented our evidence, the postnuptial agreement Smith had initiated, complete with emails from his own lawyer at the time confirming he understood and wanted the agreement. He showed our corporate restructuring documents, all properly dated and filed weeks before, with clear business justifications tied to our expansion plans. Everything was above board, properly valued, and legally solid. The judge was particularly interested in the timing. Casey presented Smith's browser history, the legal consultations, and the Venmo payments to Avery, all predating our business changes. "Your Honor," he explained, "my client acted to protect her business interests after discovering her husband's preparations for divorce. Everything was done legally and transparently, with proper business purposes." Outside the courtroom, Smith tried damage control. "Jane, wait," he called out. "This is all a misunderstanding." I turned to face him. "A misunderstanding? Like the divorce lawyer consultations? The secret bank account? The recordings?" His face went white. You knew." "I knew everything. Smith. I found the draft papers in your car. I saw the emails to Davidson. I know about the planning sessions with Avery. It was a test," he stammered. "I wanted to see if you truly cared about our marriage." I laughed. "I couldn't help it. A test. You spent months planning to take half my company as a test. Save it for someone who hasn't seen your Venmo payments to Avery." Over the next few weeks, the case completely unraveled for Smith. Avery's deposition wasn't voluntary. We'd subpoenaed her as a material witness based on the documented payments from our joint account. Under oath and faced with potential perjury charges, she chose honesty over loyalty. She admitted to helping Smith plan everything, from which lawyer to hire to how to document. "We thought she'd be an easy target," Avery confessed during the deposition. "Most women don't see it coming. Jane said he was too focused on his business to notice. The plan was to invalidate the postnuptial agreement by showing emotional distress and coercion." The financial records were even more damning. Jane had paid Davidson and Associates a £10,000 consultation fee 6 months ago from our joint account. When confronted with the evidence, he claimed it was for general legal advice. The firm's billing records, which we subpoenaed, showed detailed strategy sessions specifically focused on challenging the postnuptial agreement. His family got involved next. His parents, who I'd always had a good relationship with, showed up at my office unannounced. They were horrified by what Smith had done. "We raised him better than this," his father said, looking aged beyond his years. "We don't know what got into him, Jane. He's been different since he quit his job, spending time with that Avery woman." His mother tried to mediate. "Maybe if you both went to counseling, people make mistakes." I was firm but polite. "Mary, he spent months planning to take everything I've built, despite signing an agreement specifically protecting the business. This wasn't a mistake, it was a calculated plan that only failed because I caught it in time." The final nail in the coffin came from our computer forensics expert, whom we hired to analyze the devices I had legal access to. He recovered dozens of deleted emails between Smith, Avery, and Davidson and Associates from our shared computer's drive. They outlined everything: plans to provoke arguments they could record, strategies to document my work hours as abandonment, and detailed discussions about ways to challenge the postnuptial agreement. Through my attorney, I filed a counterpetition for divorce. Smith's attempt to invalidate the postnuptial agreement failed spectacularly. The judge was particularly swayed by evidence that he had initiated the agreement, had an independent legal counsel review it, and had expressed his desire for it in writing to limit his liability exposure from the business. "The court finds the postnuptial agreement valid and enforceable," the judge declared. "The evidence shows Mr. Harrison not only understood the agreement but initiated it. His claim of coercion is unsupported by the facts." The business restructuring held up perfectly. Casey had done his job well. Everything was documented, legitimate, and done for sound business reasons. The timing of our actions, proven to be in response to discovering his divorce preparations, actually worked in our favor. Smith's secret bank account came back to haunt him. In light of his documented plan to file for divorce, the judge ordered him to repay the £20,000 he transferred from our joint accounts. His claims that it was personal spending money didn't hold up against the evidence of his actions. Throughout the proceedings, I maintained my focus on the business. We completed our expansion into the new state, adding several major contracts. I refused to let Smith's betrayal derail what I built. The employees who depended on me deserved better than that. The divorce was finalized 6 months after he filed. The postnuptial agreement controlled the distribution of assets, giving Smith significantly less than what he would have received in a normal divorce. The judge was particularly unimpressed with his attempts to manufacture evidence and his "it was just a joke" defense. Avery's reputation in our business community was destroyed. 2 other business owners came forward with similar stories. He befriended their husbands and encouraged them to plan surprise divorces. One of them had lost his business before I exposed his pattern. Update: the business is thriving. Our new state expansion exceeded projections and we're looking at opportunities in 2 more markets. I've implemented better corporate governance practices across the board. Casey's restructuring actually improved our operational efficiency. I've started dating again, cautiously. My experience with Smith taught me valuable lessons about trust and vigilance, but it also showed me my own strength. I refused to be a victim, acted decisively, and protected what I'd built. Final update: life has settled into a new normal. The business continues to grow, and we just landed our biggest contract yet. I'm seeing someone new who has her own successful business and understands the value of building something from scratch. Smith attempted to contact me recently through mutual friends, claiming he's changed and learned his lesson. I maintained no contact. His father, who still occasionally meets me for coffee, told me he's back working in marketing but struggles with the reputation fallout from his failed scheme. The most important lesson I learned: sometimes the person sleeping next to you is plotting your downfall. But with preparation, determination, and the right advisors, you can turn their plot into your victory. As my grandfather used to say, success is the best revenge. In my case, success meant not just keeping what I built, but emerging stronger and wiser from someone's attempt to take it all away. Make sure to like and subscribe.